Hello and welcome to this video and my channel. It's good to have you here. I'm here to show you the books that I read in the month of June. I keep forgetting what month it is. June was not a great reading month. I didn't read a lot of books. I think it's the least amount of books I have read so far this year. Here they are. I read 5 books and I'm a little upset because I wanted to read 11 books this month and I didn't get to them. So here are the ones I read. Now let's talk about them. Actually, I think I might have read 6 books, but one was a reread, so I'm not sure if that counts. But I'll just count it for the sake of this video. But the first book I read this month was a reread, and that was Milk and Honey by Rupi Kaur. This was, I think, my favorite book of 2016, and it is phenomenal. It's a book of poetry and I felt like rereading it, so I did. So the first book that I really want to talk to you about today is this one. This is Dear Ijewale, or A Feminist Manifesto in 15 Suggestions by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. I think I figured out, I learned how to pronounce the author's name. Last month I read her book, We Should All Be Feminists, and I really enjoyed it. So I saw she wrote another super short book and I decided to pick it up and read it. So I did. Basically, the author received a letter from one of her friends asking her how to raise a feminist, because her friend was like, just gave birth to a baby girl and was like, how do I raise her to be a feminist? And this is the letter in response to her friend's letter. And it pretty much is what the title says. It's a feminist manifesto in 15 suggestions. And this was great. I loved it. It definitely gave me some things to think about. I do wish that this wasn't just geared towards raising girls to be feminists, but also raising boys to be feminist. I don't know, maybe you could use some of these for boys, but most of them were like specific to raising females to be feminists. She just has such a way with words. She pretty much just like states her opinions in such a matter-of-fact, simple way. It's easy to understand, and it's just one of those, Oprah says it herself, it's fierce and illuminating. It's just a book that definitely sticks with you and makes you rethink your own life and the society, and it's just wonderful. I gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars. The next book I read is Gemina by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff, the second in the Illuminae Files series. You've heard me talk about Illuminae. I read it 2 months ago. I loved it. This book I think I liked even more than the first one, which I did not think could be possible. This is just great. If you don't know, if you don't remember me talking about this, this is pretty much just a very heavy sci-fi intergalactic war series in the young adult genre, but it's told in a really interesting format. It's told through multimedia, it's told through like emails, AI, video surveillance, just a lot of different ways of telling a story. But this, like I said about Illuminae, is just a very cool book. It's one of the coolest books I think I've ever read, and I seriously am obsessed with this series. In this book, we do follow 2 different characters. We follow Hannah and Nick on the Heimdall station, and there's like a terrorist attack and people are dying, as usual with this series, I have learned. We also have alternate universes and betrayal, and it's just got a lot going for it. This series is just so fun and so cool, and it puts my emotions on a roller coaster ride for sure. Oh my goodness. But once this book was done, I had to read the 3rd and final book in the series, so I did. I read Obsidio. It's phenomenal. And in the 3rd book, we do again follow 2 new characters. I already am forgetting their names. Rise, I think is how you pronounce it, Rise and Asha. And they were left on Carenza 4. So we follow their journey, and then by the end everyone like comes together, meets up, and we finish this war. I'm not gonna tell you who wins. technically there is no winner, if I'm being honest. And again, more death, more crazy adventures. It is just such a great, phenomenal series, and this was a great conclusion to the series. I mean, it wasn't like a perfect ending. I definitely feel like it could have been better, but I'm still going crazy for this series. I gave Gemina 4.5 out of 5 stars, and I gave Obsidio 4 out of 5 stars. The next book I read is Calypso by David Sedaris. This is my nonfiction pick for the month, as well as my book of the month pick of the month. I'm thinking actually this might be considered nonfiction, but just in case it's not, this is the nonfiction pick. So I have heard a lot of great things about David Sedaris' writing, and so I decided that I wanted to read one of his books, and this is the one I chose, and I was very disappointed. Like, a lot disappointed. Maybe his fiction books are better than his nonfiction, but this was just... Okay, let me talk about it. This is just essentially a memoir with a bunch of different collections of stories about his life, and they mainly focused around his beach house in South Carolina, I think is where it was. I think what really frustrated me the most was that this was like promoted heavily. I mean, it even says right here, it's a darkly hilarious book and deeply personal. I did not find it funny at all. And I mean, it did get a little deep and a little personal, but I felt like we mainly stayed on the surface rather than going deep. The only times I felt we actually went deep were with his sister Tiffany, and even then I felt like we could have gone deeper. I was like disappointed because I was expecting this to be hilarious and personal, and it wasn't at all. And the stories and the like writing style was just so messy. First of all, I guess I just prefer my nonfiction memoirs to be in linear order. This was so not linear. I was so confused as to where we were in his life every single time I went to a new chapter and a new story. I just didn't understand where I was. But also, his stories, he kept going off into like little tangents in the middle of his stories that kind of then took me out of where we started. So then by the end of the story, I was just so confused as to A, what happened, and B, what the point of the story was. Like, what was I supposed to get out of that story? What was the theme? I don't know. He just kept going off into like side stories in the middle of a story, and I was so confused. I really did not like this book. So I gave it 1.5 out of 5 stars. So the next book I read was Sourdough by Robin Sloan. This was a book of the month from September last year, but I have been wanting to read this book since it came out last year because A, I have read a book by Robin Sloan before, and I really enjoyed it. I actually have it right here. This book, Mr. Penumbra's 24-Hour Bookstore. I really like this book. I also really love this cover. It's one of my favorite covers ever. I also do really enjoy this cover as well, but also the title, Sourdough. It's a book about my favorite thing in the world, bread. Now, as traditional with Robin Sloan books, as I have learned, it gets weird, and yes, so strap in for like something that's just gonna be so weird and you're not gonna know what the hell is going on or where it's going, but it's still a fun ride and I love it. This is essentially about a programmer who works with making robots. She turns into a baker. That is essentially the story. And she bakes bread, and she goes to farmers markets and bakes bread and sells the bread there, and it's just, it sounds like so simple, but his take on it, like I said, is just so weird. The writing is pretty straight to the point and just fun and quirky, and I really loved a lot of the characters in this book too, especially all the women in the Lois Club. I loved them. They were very interesting. I wish there could have been more chapters with them. The one issue though, I guess, is this cover, as much as I love it, it does give off a vibe of Aliens, because they make the sourdough look like it's a spaceship, and then there's like all these, I don't know if you can see it, but these circles. I don't know, it just gives me such an alien vibe, but there were no aliens at all in this book, so that kind of upset me because this was making me think it was about aliens, and it wasn't. But I still very much enjoyed this book, and it's definitely one I will be remembering from time to time, just like with Mr. Penumbra's 24-Hour Bookstore. What I love about his books is that you think you know where it's going, but you don't. It goes somewhere completely different. But yeah, no, I love this book, so I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. And that's it. Those were all the books I read. I wish this video could be longer. I wish I could talk more about books, and I can't. Okay, next month, July, this month, I need to read more books. But anyway, yes, I will see you guys later with another video. Also, please go check out the other videos that I came out with wrap-ups wise, my movie wrap-up and my monthly wrap-up. Just go check those out. And I will see you guys later. Bye!